Thank you. I think for those of you that couldn't hear, Ms. Dethers says that's all the public forum related to the strategic plan, so we can open for discussion. Ms. Kincannon, you had your light on earlier. Would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. First, I just want to reflect on some of the things we've been hearing through email and public forum, because I think it's first important to say as I'm sure all board members read and listen to these comments and incorporate them as we think we should, but just because you don't adopt wholeheartedly every element of somebody's comments doesn't mean you haven't heard and listened and adopted and agreed with the parts of, they're listening and communicating doesn't mean abandoning everything you had believed in the first place. So I just am sort of disturbed by some of the insinuations that I've heard and read on emails, for example, about the regional structure. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry when I read that someone was comparing it to a weapon of mass destruction. And, that level of hyperbole is not conducive to productive conversation and not true. Not true at all. It's just not a helpful way to describe things. I also think I've asked, Dr. McIntyre has answered to my satisfaction the purpose of the regional administrative support system. I don't know what the term is to better support our principals. We've heard, and I've heard directly from principals, and we've read it in analysis by other people about our principals needing more support. This is done in many places. It's that Metro Nashville has a program that's where they diverted administrative people to more supportive roles for principals. So they're one support person for every 5 or 6 principals instead of, what's the ratio we have now, Dr. McIntyre? Ballpark.
Yeah, rough numbers were about 15 to 18 principals per supervisor.
We have some amazing supervisors, but when you have 15 people to help with really complex problems, they might not even be able to return the call until, in a prompt manner. So I think that the regional structure is a sound idea. I don't think it's a weapon of mass destruction. I know it's not an effort to undermine public schools as we know it, and I really resent that insinuation because I know this board doesn't want to do that either. I also think it's important to recognize that the word, these implications that this board has been in favor of closing down schools is completely contrary to the reality that I've seen for the last 10 years. And more, before anyone was on this board, they made an effort there was a proposal to close down Fulton High School. It didn't happen, and then Fulton has been steady and then was struggling. But in the last 6-8 years, we experienced a turnaround at Fulton High School. And turnaround to me is exemplified by a school that goes from 46% graduation rate to 80-something. I mean, that's a turnaround. We didn't shut that school down. We turned it around. Turnaround means turnaround. It's plain language English. And it's happening at Fulton. It's happening at Vine. It's happening at Austin East. We didn't shut down Maynard. We turned it around. I mean, so I'm speaking to you, and I'm speaking in part to the people who are making these crazy allegations. I think it's important for people in this board and the people maybe paying attention to know that just because someone says something doesn't mean it's true or even partially true. Sometimes it's just crazy and not true at all. And I just wanted to point that out because I think Knox County School Board and Knox County Schools have successfully turned around many, many of our schools, and we're committed to improving our schools, not shutting them down. We are doing that in a myriad ways. And I'm really proud of the efforts we've made as a board. So I also think that I'm going to support the strategic plan. I think it's a sound plan. I think it's improved over the last 12 months. It's proved even more over the last 1 month with the help of teacher groups that have put in sound time and attention to helpful proposals. So I appreciate the people who've spent the time to offer really helpful feedback. And I think it's been incorporated. And I think the plan is sound. And also for several people have contacted me saying, well, I think we need more discussion of balanced calendar. I think we need more discussion of, some other components in there. And I just want to publicly say, and I know other people have said this at times, but anything that has a budget impact or is a huge change to policy or schedules will, of course, get more discussion, debate. We can't do it if we don't have the money to do it. And so this is a blueprint, like Ms. Fugit and other people have said, and it will be a dynamic one based on what the community wants and what we can afford. So thank you to everyone who's worked on this in good faith, and I'm looking forward to voting for it.
Ms. Carson.
Oh, boy. My turn. All right, so we're back to talking about the strategic plan. I appreciate Ms. Kincannon's review of some of the discussion and some of the comments that were made, and I feel compelled to add to some of the others. When an educator makes a statement in public, I want everybody in this community to trust and believe what they say. So when I hear the Teacher Advisory Committee had no sharing of minutes, Dr. McIntyre, were minutes ever shared on any meetings from the Teacher Advisory Committee?
Yes, ma'am.
Were they shared with teachers?
Yes, ma'am.
And was it only teachers who were on the committee or all teachers?
No, to the best of my recollection, we share them with all teachers. The only one that we may not have sent out yet because it was over the summer was the most recent one. But other than that, we included those minutes in email communications to all teachers.
And I will say that I asked teachers after, I think it was in January, it was brought to the board's attention that the minutes were not out. You acknowledged that they had not gone out, and I then followed up with teachers to see if they received them. I had many who told me they had, who were not on the Teacher Advisory Committee. So the fact that an educator said there were no sharing of minutes was not the truth. I also heard that Knox County switched to Common Core last year. When did we begin Common Core?
The beginning implementation for Common Core state standards in grades K through 2 was 3 years ago.
Thank you. So we did not switch last year? Was not the first year we switched to Common Core?
This past year was the first year of full implementation in all grades for Common Core state standards.
I heard questions about us calling the meeting for August 18th for the superintendent's evaluation. This meeting was put on the schedule in June, as it has been for every year in the past time that I have been on the board, except for last year when the board knew that there were no changes on the Board of Ed and made the decision to do the evaluation in November, December, because we would have all of the testing information back to do a more thorough evaluation. Every other year, we have always had a called meeting in August. I believe it's written in your contract. Is it, Dr. McIntyre?
Madam Chair, Ms. Carson, the current schedule was adopted by vote of the board in, I believe it was 2012. It was an amendment to the prior schedule. Maybe 2013. It was amended to the prior schedule that had been adopted by the board, and the main amendment was to shift in non-election years to an evaluation process that happened in the November-December timeframe, but to continue to have performance evaluation conversation in August of election years.
And that was in a public meeting, on TV, video archived, and everything, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I also have real problems with questions about this board's transparency and truthfulness. Every meeting that we have is on live TV, is video archived, is notified well ahead of time. Every single meeting that we have is an agenda that is put out. The board does not see that agenda until the community sees that agenda. Every single meeting we have in the community is documented and put out there. There may be better ways to communicate. Everybody that I talk to in an email and they have concerns about something being rushed, I share everything that has been done and say I am open to any suggestions as to how we can be better at communicating. But to have an organization in this strategic plan, we list everybody who is on the steering committee by name and title. We list everybody who's on the working group by name and title. We list every single meeting and the number of people who attended by date. And I'm supposed to believe that the group that calls for transparency repeatedly and yet gives me a document that does not have one single name on it, does not tell me when their meetings occurred, does not tell us who attended or even the number of people who attended and what roles they play, so that I know that it gives a broad spectrum of the information that was given, and does not allow people who are actively involved in educational decisions the right to at least respond and be active on their website. That is a lack of transparency, in my opinion. Finally, the questions about the tie to changing over to an attempt to privatize schools and close schools. I asked questions Monday night about that area. I felt satisfied with the answers, and when I saw the speculation that was out there today, I will tell you, I didn't receive one question that said, I have this concern, or this came up, is there any truth to that? I just saw a massive passing on of speculation. So it's important to clarify. I will wait for the audience. I think it's important to clarify that I did not say were all the minutes. I heard an educator stand up and say, no minutes are going out. And I asked if some minutes had gone out. I find it insulting that you think that we are naive, gullible, dumb enough to just want to believe the truth. We do, I do, my own fact-checking, my own validating on many, many, many issues. And the only thing I was clarifying is the comment that was made that said there were no minutes that have gone out to teacher advisory groups, and you just validated again. That was not true.